Do you drink coffee, Kiri?
No, I drink water.
You're not a caffeine person?
No.
Honestly, I wouldn't want to see you hopped up on caffeine because you're like a pretty focused, high energy person, and you more focused and more high energy would be kind of terrifying. This is more the season of eggnog, and this is the Halcyon Frequency Podcast, episode 49. That number's getting kind of big. Airing December 25th, 2022.
Merry Christmas!
I'm blind and I'm hosting this episode, and we are joined by our resident holiday enthusiast, Tootie Kiri.
Sorry, I couldn't hold back. I'm great. I'm so happy.
You're happy? Why are you happy?
Because it's Christmas. Well, for me, by the time people listen to this, it's already past Christmas because we celebrate on the 24th. But it's my favorite time of the year. I'm happy.
And fellow holiday enjoyer Suwey is also here on this episode. How's things?
Things are chill, which is nice, honestly. I'm not really doing anything for Christmas, but then I'm going and visiting my family for New Year's, which a little spook, but
that can't be so bad. I mean, as scary as family can be, that's what alcohol is for at the holidays. Am I right? That's why you spike the eggnog. That's how you survive the holidays.
We're also staying at an Airbnb instead of at my parents' house. Okay. So
that'll help.
That's good.
We have control over how much we see them. If things are getting overbearing, we don't have to be around them.
Smart.
The easiest way to put this is there's large parts of my extended family that it's not that I don't get along with them. They're fine. They're just exhausting to be around, and I don't want to talk with half of them. So it's like,
I feel
whenever I'm at like actual family get-togethers, it's like, all right, where's the 24-pack of cheap beer? I just sit next to that.
Okay. My family gatherings, you got one table that's talking about Star Wars, another table talking about Disney. You got a table talking about politics and how left-wing they are, even though they're not that left-wing, but that's a different conversation. And then another group talking about cars. And one final group talking about gardening.
My extended family, it's like there's the politics group, then there's the people shouting over the politics group about different politics and why the politics group is wrong. And then there's then that group also kind of melds into just talking about cars and dirt biking and camping and sometimes guns and like alcohol and why their investments in poor dumb things that you shouldn't be investing money in, NFTs, failed horribly, and why not upkeeping your house for decades at a time and then like trying to sell it to the city to be demoed to have a condo built on it is a great idea when 8 of your neighbors agreed to demo the whole block, and then 3 of the neighbors pull out, and then the city goes, that's not actually in a condo zone, so we couldn't demo it in the first place, and then he gets all mad at the city for not letting him demo his house that he refused to upkeep for months. It's like, I just throw my hand. I'm actually really happy that half of them are just not vaccinated and we're just like ignoring for this year.
It's great.
That's so my holiday this year is gonna be like me, my aunt. We're gonna try and go see my Oma tomorrow if it's not still freezing rain. It's gonna be pretty low key. My sister and her husband might come over from the island. That'll be nice. I've got a Discord call with my little sister in Quebec later today, so it'll be nice and quiet this year. But our venting about scary holidays aside, Kiri, what do you usually do on the holidays?
So, Mr. and I were going to go to my parents, where my parents are, my sister and aunt and grandparents. And we're going to have a nice chill celebration, which is always... I just like it. I don't know, it's not really anything special, but, we've got a tree and then we stand around it and we sing songs, and we also sing Last Christmas because I want to. And everybody rolls their eyes, but we still do.
I love it.
It's better than singing White Christmas.
No, we usually sing, Silent Night in German.
Okay.
And then we sing the little drummer boy, because that's kind of a family tradition. And I always wish for Last Christmas. And by that time, my grandma is so impatient that she already starts handing out presents because she doesn't want to wait. And
I
we've
miss
got good
that.
food and just, I don't know, it's always nice. It might get a bit heated with politics, yes, because that always happens. And then, this person who streams for a living, like, what's that kind of a job? But other than that, it's going to be really nice.
I
And
miss
then-
having family gatherings for Christmas, but my grandparents got too old, so yeah, they're still alive. They're just too old. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like my grandparents are like both of my grandmothers on both sides are like, basically the way it works now is like, if you want to do something with them, we have to go to them. So the initial plan was like we were actually going to go to my grandma's house, but then we got like 35 centimeters of snow. And like, so everything there is so much snow outside. It is ridiculous. And it's freezing rain on top of it now. So it's like, we're kind of all just looking outside going, yeah, no, that's not happening. Also now maybe nothing's happening because like, I don't know if anybody's going to get anywhere. So we'll see if anything even happens, but.
We had plans to go to my in-laws on the 25th because that's what we usually do. First, we're going to spend the actual Christmas at my parents'. And then on 25th, we go to my in-laws and then spend a couple of days there. But now my sister-in-law has COVID and she's already there. So we're not going anymore. And now Mystery's really sad because obviously he was looking forward to spending Christmas with his family as well. But not this year.
The last like normal, I kind of, there is one thing like about the way the world is now is things are less crazy, at least in my family, which I kind of like. Like previously, the last big year of Christmas get-togethers that I did was 2019, and it was like Christmas Eve at one side of the family's house, Christmas Day at the loud side of the family's house, Boxing Day with a grandparent, video calls the day after with extended family. And it was like this 4-day thing, and now it's like, all right, I got video calls one day, maybe a get-together if the weather holds up. 2 days later, done. Like, just much easier.
It's a bit more relaxed, isn't it? And just uncomplicated.
Yeah. I mean, don't get to see everybody, but like I said earlier, you don't always want to see everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was always just like awkwardly sitting by kind of just by myself in a way whenever I was at family gatherings because like I just didn't have anyone in the family I vibed with, so I'd just be sitting there and everyone would be mad at me for not interacting and then they'd go back to topics I don't care about and I was just like, yeah, so you want me to interact?
Kiri, I got a question. Like, do you ever get interrogated by extended family or like get weird questions about what you do for a living, being a streamer and all?
No, not at all. So my family's not really big. Like, we're going to see extended family probably early next year. But they know what I do. They probably also don't care. Like, I don't know. They're probably going to ask, hey, how's it going? And I'm going to tell them some of the cool things that happened. But no.
Okay. Like,
and then
go on.
My grandparents, who really don't understand what I'm doing, they also don't interrogate me because they don't understand what I'm doing.
I think the way I ended up explaining it to both my grandparents was just like, both my grandmothers was just, I'm like a radio host, except on the internet. And they're like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And like that basically solved it. But
that's that's simpler than how I explained it. I literally went to my grandparents. I was like, so you know how TV is live sometimes? I kind of do that, but on the internet, and that's what I do.
You're like mini Letterman.
I don't understand.
You don't know who Letterman is?
No.
How did you miss? You live in North America and you don't know who David Letterman is?
Okay, I don't. Who's
name rings a bell.
It's like one of the biggest American talk show hosts in like modern history. But
I don't do names. So one thing about me is I do not do names at all. It takes me forever to remember any kind of name at all. And
but
like,
it's the name of his show, the David Letterman show. So I'm gonna sit down and watch.
I don't
Letterman.
know.
Okay.
I never sat down and watched it. Maybe it's a generational thing, you know?
It probably is. It's probably just making me feel old. I mean, he has a Netflix show now. called My Next Guest Needs No Introduction, where he just interviews celebrities. And it's a really good interview show. And I like watching it because I think it's educational as someone who's fascinated about interviewing people. And he's a very, very, very good interviewer. Even if sometimes I want to slap his guests. But like, you know, it's an interesting show. And he's a very good talk show host, but that's irrelevant. But random
I never
tangent.
watched talk shows. I guess, like, by the time I was at age where I would have watched it, instead I was on the internet.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, that's how I watched Letterman, was on the internet. I definitely just found old episodes on YouTube, but I'm also a strange person. Speaking of strange people, do any of us have, like, any good memories from when we were little at Christmas that we could talk about on here? 'Cause I think that might be a fun little themed thing.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Absolutely.
have something.
You go ahead.
You start.
Yeah. I remember, so one year I asked my parents for something big. I don't fully remember what it was. I think it might have been a mattress, like a nice mattress instead of having like a cheap one, you know? And I remember my dad literally sent me on a scavenger hunt with little presents everywhere until he finally led me to the garage where it was. It might not have been a mattress. I don't remember what it was that year. It was something big. And we just did a scavenger hunt where there was just presents all over the place, all over the house. And eventually it led me to the garage.
Cool.
That's so nice.
Little scavenger hunts are fun.
Mm-hmm.
Gary, do you have anything?
Oh! Can I say
Oh.
one more?
Do you have a second
My
one?
dad and I also would, like, kind of prank each other by doing our presents weirdly. So, like, we'd, like, triple wrap it, or we'd, like, put it in a box, wrap the box, put it in another box, wrap that box over and over for, like, you know, just for, like, a gift card. So it's tiny. You can fit in a tiny little thing. And so it'd be this massive box, and then eventually become like a little gift card. My dad, it became like a meme. He was really particular about how he opened presents. He had to nicely take the bow off, then unwrap it at the tape, not ripping the paper at all. And so I would like quadruple wrap his present.
45 minutes later, still unwrapping the same present.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was so good.
I love that.
I haven't even wrapped my dad's gift yet. But go on, Carrie.
Yeah, so my thing is that when my sister and I were little, my mom made bags for us for our presents with our names on top and decoration stuff. And those bags were ginormous when I was a kid. And to this day, we still use them. So whatever we wish for Christmas, and it's gotten considerably less as we grow older, and we're just able to buy the things that we wanted. But Mum always makes sure that there's something in there, like just socks or, I don't know, my favorite crisps or something. The bags are not that big anymore, but we still have them. It's just always really nice to have that kind of tradition. And so last year for Christmas, my sister and I actually stepped into those bags, and I think they reached our knees or something, like maybe mid-thigh. And we took photos of that, just us in our present bags. It was really nice.
Did anyone else have like a special Christmas morning meal?
We do Christmas evening, so no.
Yeah, so my family was weird growing up because my family's largely German and Irish culturally. So we very much, and we also have like a good chunk of Dutch in there. So we kind of like co-opted all of the Christmas religions. So we did like St. Nick's Day at the beginning of December, which is like the Dutch thing. And then, which like we'd put our shoes outside. We had like these little wooden shoes we'd put outside, or just our snow boots or whatever. And Mom and Dad would fill those up with candy. And sometimes some tiny little toys, like I'd get one of those little $5 Lego sets. So we do like some small gifts at the beginning of December. And then Christmas Eve, we would do all of our family stuff, usually. All of our like we'd do like a nice dinner. And it was like you'd wait all day. And then in the evening, we'd unwrap gifts. And then Christmas morning, capitalism would take over, and we'd get, air quotes, Santa's gifts. So we'd get the big gifts the next morning. So we get the practical, nice little family things the night before. And like we'd all share gifts. We'd give gifts to Mom and Dad and whatnot. And Sometimes we'd have a family member come over, but generally it was like just us doing our stuff. And then Christmas morning was just like a challenge for all of us kids to not wake mom and dad up, because we weren't allowed to open gifts up until mom and dad got up and we ate breakfast.
Yep.
Which was like, and we weren't allowed to wake them up. So we'd just like get out there and we'd be sitting out there from like 6 a.m. until like 11 in the morning when mom and dad would wake up. And then we'd make pancakes. And then we'd open up Santa's gifts. That was fun.
So mine was similar. Christmas Eve, we went to my grandma's house where we'd have like 40 family members there. And it was just this huge celebration. We had food. It was just a potluck thing. And we opened gifts. So that was gifts from the extended family. So it was my grandma's gift and then any extended family who gifts. I think like kids under 8 all received a gift from everyone who attended. And it was usually just like a cheap little thing or like a candy or something, you know. It wasn't much. And then Christmas morning, we'd wake up and we'd start by opening up all the presents that my parents gave, which was, you know, the big cool stuff. And then we'd have waffles, but specifically we would put frozen berries on it. We would put whipped cream on it. So it was like this really fancy. Oh, and we also had what's it called? Sparkling apple cider. And it was fun.
We used to do like eggnog and stuff the night before usually. Like
My family's allergic to dairy though.
On the 23rd. Oh, that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah, so we did sparkling apple cider.
That's nice.
I'm trying to imagine a sparkling apple cider that isn't alcoholic, and I don't think I can.
It's just basically apple juice that's fizzy.
Yeah, but that's not apple cider. But I won't start being a weird elitist. But
apple juice.
It just sounds like apple soda to me. But
I don't know. Maybe it is just apple soda, but it's called something different here.
Probably. But just sounds like an odd flavor palette to me. But yeah, I don't know. I think the one thing I'm like kind of bummed about this year is like, while I do get driven insane by parts of my extended family, I have 2 cousins who are I think of them as little kids, but like one of them like just graduated high school and has a girlfriend and is working full time, and then the other one is like just graduating high school. But I think of them as like 5-year-olds, but because they're like, you know, like 15 years younger than me in one case. But they're obsessed with the fact that I stream full time, but like won't admit it. So every single time they encounter me, they just like act really weird around me and then suddenly start asking questions about my job. And then my uncle always comes over to me and says, make sure that they don't decide they want to do what you do for a living. As if I'm some sort of like failure and like bad influence. And he doesn't say it in a nice way. It's always like, make sure you discourage them from making poor decisions and stuff like that. It's like, dude. But like, I kind of, because of how much my stream's grown in the past month, I kind of wish I could just go over there and be like, yeah, by the way.
Yeah, that would be nice. That reminded me though that Mystery's cousin is really fascinated with what I do, and he asks questions, like very, very smart questions and interested ones. But then he understands what I do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's my other cousin on the other side who actually tried streaming quite a bit throughout the pandemic and built up a pretty little, like decent little following on his Factorio streams, but he just kind of fell off. It kind of makes me sad because his streams are actually pretty good, but just kind of is what it is. But anyway, this has been a really long intro. I think that we're going to go to a real quick break here. And then when we come back, we're going to talk about the games that we've been playing this week. So we'll be back right after this. And we're back with episode 49 of the Halcyon Podcast. We're going to be covering the games that we've been playing this week, which happens to be a bit of Dwarf Fort, some Project Zomboid, and a few other things. So I'm going to toss this off to Kiri first. How's your experience with Dwarf Fortress been?
It's been great, honestly. So I need to say it here as well, because I think I said it in the Discord, and I keep mentioning your name on stream, but thank you very much, Blind, for the tutorials. I haven't watched all of them yet, But the handful that I watched, they helped so much because otherwise, yes, the game has a tutorial. There's also the section where you can just read up on things, but I'm not going to sit there reading on stream the whole time. So I haven't looked at that at all. And without your videos, I would have no clue what to do. So that's very much needed. And with that, it's like, I mean, every time I play, I learn something new, either by a mistake. So I do something and it's not working out. And I sit there for 4 hours trying to figure out why it doesn't work. And together with chat, we figure it out. And then it's like, that's my fault. I did that wrong. But that has been my experience with Dwarf Fortress. So I make a mistake and then I spend hours not realizing there's a mistake. And then I spend hours fixing it. And I'm like, yeah, that's really cool. It feels so rewarding though. I mean, because once you figure out, yeah.
I was going to say, even I'm not like immune to that, right? I spent a half a day building a massive pump stack, but what that is kind of irrelevant. But I spent like a whole day basically just stacking pumps so I could pump lava from like on like the deepest part of the map all the way to the surface. And it was like a day that I spent digging it out, and then I realized I had one tile out, so I had to dig the whole thing out and rebuild the whole thing. So it was like, oh, there goes 2 hours. But you know, once it's done, it's like, yeah.
Yeah, it's so rewarding. No, it's been really, really cool.
I've only spent a couple hours on the game. Honestly, it's not my type of game, to be completely honest. But that's because, when I played RimWorld, I didn't play for, like, the individual stories. I more enjoyed the overarching thing where it was, like, you know, trying to defend off and... you know, the actual events that happened rather than, like, going into the lore, if that makes sense. I'm just not a lore person.
I have a question. How deep did you dig?
I did, and really...
Okay,
I
that's
got,
why.
like...
Literally, that's why. Dig.
I got to a cavern.
Okay,
I got to
build
a
in the
cavern, and then my chat was like, you need to, like, block it off. You're not ready to deal with it yet.
If you want to fight, if you want the game to throw stuff at you, go to the caverns and build in the caverns. If you want the game to throw stuff at you, settle next to a necromancer tower. Because there's...
I didn't even know how to do anything.
See,
I didn't watch any tutorials. I just went.
And this is one of the things that I don't think is frustrating about people. Like, I get it. If you play the game and you bounce off, that's fine. But what bothers me is when people dismiss it on it doesn't do this thing. It's like, well, it can do that thing. You just have to make it do that thing.
Yeah,
if
but
you
the thing
want,
is,
yeah,
you don't know how.
Yeah,
because the game doesn't tell you how. So it's something that you need to know.
Not necessarily. The game does tell you how. The game tells you to dig deeper. So dig deeper.
I mean, yeah, it does say that.
So
yeah, I
dig
don't know.
Deeper.
I don't know. It didn't really seem too much like something I was too interested in. So
just realize that game is there.
I know, and I'll probably take a bigger look at it when I'm done with Zomboid, but the thing is I'm not done with Zomboid right now, and, like, to me, from my first initial impression, that game is, like, lore and a city builder. That's what it felt like, and those are two genres I'm just like,
I get that, but you don't have to be into... maybe I shouldn't say that, but you don't have to be into the lore to enjoy the game. Because I had people come into chat and ask me if I read, I don't know, everything about my dwarves and stuff. I'm like, no. And then they say, oh, but you have to. I was like, no, I don't have to. I don't care.
You don't have to do anything.
Right? I like, if there's something happening, like they engrave something, then I might read the engraving if it's just one thing. Or if they make one of their... I'm not sure if it's a legendary item, but when they go into one of their dwarf moods and then they go to a crafting station and craft something, then they produce this thing and it's got text. And then I read that because that I find interesting. It's like, if we want to compare this to RimWorld again, which we also probably shouldn't, then you craft a legendary and you read that description, right? Mm-hmm. And that's fun, but you don't have to read everything the game throws at you. You can also just have fun, I don't know, building something, digging deep, or fighting.
My thing, I think, is I feel like adventure mode will probably be more of what I want because I'm just not huge on building, right?
Yeah.
I didn't play RimWorld to build. I I did like the bare minimum I could get away with in
Here's the
RimWorld when
thing.
it came to building.
You don't need to build in Dwarf Fort. You have to dig out a space for your dwarves to sleep, sure. But like, if they ask you to make a guild hall, you can just say no and just not do it. Your dwarves will get mad and they'll start killing each other after a bit. But that's part of the fun if that's what you want, right? Like, Dwarf Fortress is a game about doing what you want to do. And if what you want to do is, oh, you're mad at me, dwarf? Okay, I'm going to drop you into a volcano now. You can do that. Right? Like, if you just want to be a maniacal monster person, you can absolutely do that. And the game gives you all of the tools to do that. But like
you've got so
Kiri
many
stated,
possibilities.
the game just doesn't tell you how to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's my issue. And like, I'm not a tutorial person, you know? I just want to do the thing. I don't want to like spend forever learning how to do the thing. Well, if I don't know how,
Use your creativity. And the nice thing about Dwarf Fortress is the way the game works. Theoretically, if something should work, it will probably work. Like, as an example of theoretically if something should work, I'm building minecart shotguns in my map right now, right? Which includes putting a minecart at the top of a very big hill, right? Throwing that minecart down the really big hill onto a flat floor one level below the bottom part of the hill, right? Then it hits a fortification, which is basically just a wall with holes in it, and I'm throwing glass discs, statues, and giant metal spiky balls out of that window directly at whatever happens to be standing there. An army of enemy elves, an army of enemy dwarves, an army of enemy goblins, my own dwarves, whatever happens to be there at the time will get obliterated into a lot of tiny pieces.
I love that.
And is that an official mechanic or a thing the game will even tell you is possible? No. But because that's how physics works, it works.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, like, it's very much a creative sandbox and a tool set, right? RimWorld is a very strict set of rules that hands you a toy once every 5 minutes. This game gives you a box of toys. But you have to select the toy.
Very complicated toys.
Yeah, and I'm also just not... I'm not that much of a creative gamer, if that makes sense. I like just having more structure, I think, might be also my issue. I like having a lot of structure. You know, I like games where it gives me a quest and I go do the thing.
Increase your value. Get the queen.
Blind is really trying to sell you to a fortress.
I'm not trying to sell you. I'm just stating that all of the stuff is there. It's all there. It's just a matter of having the willingness to do it. And if you don't have the willingness to do that, that's fine. We don't need to have this conversation anymore.
The thing is, my problem with it is that several times now it's happened where I was looking for something and chat was explaining it to me, which was great, because without chat I wouldn't have understood it in the first place. But they tried to explain something to me. I say, click that button. Like, that there is no button. And then they just really describe, click on this. So like, that's not a button. And then I click it and apparently it's a button. And it's like, yes, there is a graphical user interface now, but it's sometimes really bad. As in, it's not a button. This is not visually a button. Like, how are you supposed to know to click there? It's just... Anyway. So I've had trouble several times doing something, even with an explanation, because I just didn't know that I could click there.
Yeah. I mean... I've talked about this on other episodes of this podcast, but like me getting this UI, especially 4 days early, was a test of my own patience, because I know how to play Dwarf Fortress and I know what every menu does. And it was literally a matter of, I need this particular specific screen. And then like DMing people that were in the beta for the last 6 months going, where is this screen? Like, where did they put the delete walls button? Oh, it's connected to this other button. Oh, so because like there used to be 3 different buttons to delete things. Now there's 2, but like the second one isn't explained very well. And it's like, it took me 30 minutes to figure out how to remove constructed walls, which is way longer than it should have. And there's definitely like quirks to it. But at the end of the day, it's a graphical interface for an ASCII game, which, I'll use an example. I learned a game called Caves of Cud largely by myself, and Caves of Cud was with their original UI. It's more intuitive now with the new UI, but with the original UI, it, like literally I just called my stream Caves of Key Bindings, and 80% of the first 2 streams I did of that game was just me looking at key bindings and like being like, wait, what was that hotkey? What menu is that in? Where is that menu? And it's like, so for me, that's part of the learning curve of playing a game like this. But that's just wired into my brain, right? So I when I sit down with a new game that I know has been in development for 1 billion years and is super obtuse and has a weird control scheme, I expect the first 5 to 10 hours just be me going, hold on, where was that menu? But not everybody's built for that, and I get that, and I understand why people bounce off because of that.
Yeah, no,
it's not for me.
Honestly, if I hadn't been streaming at that point, I would have rage quit. I would have so rage quit. I was so mad at the game.
Can I ask, what screen was it?
Yeah, so it was. That was the military squad.
Okay. Yeah.
So first of all, I deleted the uniforms.
All right.
Because you go to equip. I think you go to equip, and then you can select uniforms, and I think you've got 3 or 2. There's a leather one and a metal one. And I did watch your tutorial the couple hours before, but I didn't really look at why you were clicking. And so it says leather, and then next to it you have a field, and it's crossed out with a red cross. I thought, all right, I'm going to click there to make it a green tick and just tick it, but that is the delete button. And my slow brain was so slow that I tried it with the metal uniform too, because I thought, that didn't work. Something happened, but it didn't register what happened, so I deleted the second one too.
Yep. Yeah, no, and then there's no way to get them back unless you
and then you can't get them back.
Squad.
And I was so mad. And the other thing also with the military squad was the schedule, because you can have different schedules, and first of all, I got really frustrated with having to change them, because I thought I needed to change them. And then somebody says, you don't have to change the schedule for every month. Just click on the set thing for the year. So instead of sometimes they're off duty, just make them train all year. And I didn't realize you could actually click on the heading. That was not a button.
Yeah.
Or maybe it wasn't. No, it wasn't a heading. It was just inside that table already. And that is so frustrating. I mean, now I know, and it's totally okay, and I'm glad I stuck with it. But that had me almost rage quit.
Yeah. The kind of funny thing about the military screen is, imagine that, but like 8,000 times more obtuse.
Yeah,
That's
what
the old
honestly,
military screen was. And then there was also more screens too originally.
Yeah.
Also, to like get into each individual different type of weapon. Now, like, it's actually quite easy to make new uniforms now. It used to be like, okay, capital A for armor. All right, what type? Scroll through like 50 different menus to find the right type of armor. Okay, select the right type of armor. Sweet. Now, capital H for helms. All right, let's scroll through. And yeah, no.
Mm-hmm.
I
understand that they made it easier in certain ways. And I'm very happy that I've got the user interface and mouse controls and stuff. That's absolutely amazing. And I also know that it's not finished yet. It's just that was annoying.
It's Dwarf Fortress. Everything's a work in progress.
Yeah. But also, once again, once you figured out how it works, it is so rewarding.
This is the only game that's ever made me physically jump out of my chair with excitement the first time I successfully built a door. But that was also in the old version of the game, so that's much more intuitive now and probably an easier task to complete than in, the older version.
That's great.
But it is kind of how do I explain this? It's extraordinarily rewarding to see people who, I think like the people that are really biting on and really enjoying the game are people who have been reading about Dwarf Fortress and already have that willingness to put the time in to get past that curve, right? For me, I would say that learning RimWorld is actually a very similar difficulty curve now, because it's just a matter of learning the UI. And once you've learned the UI, you can play the game. The difference between learning RimWorld and learning Dwarf Fortress is then you need to learn what to play in the game. And that requires, well, as the game says, digging deeper. But at the same time, and this is not, I swear I'm not just criticizing Suwey. Like, don't get mad at me. But it's like, and this is not something that every person is going to be willing to do, right? And, you know, within the first few days of the game being released, I had a couple people pile into my chat saying, I was just watching, insert streamer name here, and they just said that the game was boring and stopped playing. I was like, well, what did they do? And it's like, well, okay, they built doors. Sweet, great. They got some bedrooms up and running. Cool, sweet. And then they got farming up and running. Okay, cool. And then they waited for 2 years and built a bunch of ballistas.
Oh. So they were waiting for something to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which theoretically could happen. But also, depending on where you settle in the world, nothing could happen. Like, right?
Yeah.
If you settle on that cute little desert island in the middle of nowhere that's not connected to anything and has nobody living on it, there might be a dragon on that island. There might be a titan on that island. There might be some kobolds on that island, maybe. There might be nothing, right? There might not even be, like, animals that are a threat. And if you dig down to the cavern layers, then everything's interconnected, and then you could get forgotten beasts, you could get the underground creatures attacking you, you could get other things coming from down there. But if you just settle in, like, kind of a... like. There's a line in the Dwarf Fortress community, which is new players live in dirt, old players live in stone. Because you never dig very deeply the first few times you play. And that's, I mean, I was the same way when I first started playing the older versions. And granted, I was determined to learn the game, but in the older versions, like, I never dug very deep, ever. Because it was like, all right, I'm going to dig down like 3 layers, maybe deep enough to hit like the first few rock layers, or just like some clay layer, and I'll start building that. But I've also, like, when you see people complaining about like the size of the maps and stuff, it's like, okay, how deep have you dug? Because you can set the map to be the smallest possible map setting, and it's still like exponentially bigger than any other city builder I've ever played.
Yeah. Oh, I've got to say something. I did something really cool, because in Dwarf Fortress you have the set levels, and that's just such a different way of thinking, because I've played so many colony builders and city builders, and then, yeah, maybe you've got a set level up, like in Timberborn, for example. But then Dwarf Fortress is just so much deeper and deeper. In any case, so I was really proud because I built my storage rooms. And then in the middle, I had stairways going down. Did I say storage? I meant crafting rooms. Anyways, so crafting rooms, stairs in the middle, and then below that is the storage room. And I think that's so cool. And I was so proud of it because it's just so smart. And I don't know if it's smart into a fortress ways, but they don't have to walk super long distances to go from on the same level from point A to point B. But they just, take 2 steps, go down the stairs, 2 steps, and then they grab what they need and they go up again. And it's just, that's really cool, but it requires such a different way of thinking for me, at least.
Yeah, it's interesting because, like, Bellinaire set up kind of the same thing once, because a couple of years ago, Bellinaire, I think it was after Villains Part 1 came out at the end of 2021, and or at some point, Bellinaire dove in and was playing some of the older versions, 47.0.5, and that's literally the exact same thing he did. Like, he had, like, a layer of workshops, and then underneath each workshop was a stockpile associated with that workshop. And one layer above each workshop was the material that they needed. So they would jump up 1 layer, grab the material, jump down the layer to the workshop, and then go down a layer to where it was stored. And then he had, like, different wheelbarrow routes that were taking from all those lower stockpiles to a bigger, more central stockpile. And it's like, you can almost make this game into Factorio if you want, because it does allow for that level of specificity and that level of direct engineering and min-maxing if you want to do that.
Yeah.
Or you can just be like me and completely ignore all that stuff and have a super ineffective, inefficient fortress and everybody yells at you, and it's fine.
Yeah, of course. So that works too.
Because I just like watching the dwarves break things. But, like, yeah, no,
That's for fun.
Yeah, at the end of the day, like, I'm not trying to sell anybody in particular on the game, but I will say that it hurts my soul a little bit when people say that the game doesn't do a thing when it very much does do a thing. You just have to look for the thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you don't want to play it, that's totally fine. But Dwarf Fortress is the granddaddy of Minecraft for a reason. If in Minecraft all you ever do is chop down a tree and build a house and hide in it at night, game's pretty boring.
Yeah.
Like, Minecraft is one of the coolest games, realistically, of our generation, really, and probably just as important as Dwarf Fortress in a lot of ways. And certainly massively influential amongst kids. But it does require a little bit of ingenuity and a little bit of interest in seeking out the things that you can do in that game. And I'm just talking about the vanilla game. I'm not even talking about mods, right? Like if you never, like now there's like, villagers and towns and stuff. If you don't ever go interact with the villagers and towns, if you don't like really explore, if you don't dig down and find diamonds, if you don't build a gate to the nether, it's like, the game doesn't, even Minecraft, like it has like that little clipbook thingy, but it doesn't really direct you to a lot of that stuff. You kind of have to seek it out and find it. And Dwarf Fortress is very much that in a lot of ways. I mean, even something like Terraria as well, right? Like if you boot out all the visitors, don't make a house for them, never dig down and only build a house out of trees, yeah, you'll get bored.
Yeah.
You have to reach out and do the thing, right? But
No, that makes sense.
it's just, it is a little bit soul crushing for me as somebody who really, really loves the game. Seeing, several bigger streamers just go, oh, nothing happened. Alt F4. Okay.
Yeah, I get that.
It's like, well, what do you expected? But
I hope it's also on the other side, on the other hand, a good feeling, good experience for you to see so many new people pick up the game now and love it and enjoy it.
I mean, the subreddit for Dwarf Fortress has grown by like 40,000 people. And it was like 120,000 before. It's like 160,000 now. The game sold very well and is continuing to sell. Obviously, it's slowed down a bit, but it's still selling. And the people who like it really like it. And people who don't like it seem to be respectfully dismissive of it, which is generally pretty good. You never like seeing people get mad at a game. And it sold well enough that they just hired another programmer, which is like, as far as I'm concerned, some of the biggest like video game news this year. But, it's the biggest video game news that won't get widely reported.
Probably, yeah.
The programmer that they hired is a very long time modder of the game and is possibly one of the best people at finding bugs in the game, who's never seen the actual code itself. So the core community is ecstatic, and then there are some fringes around the edges that are like, why didn't you hire somebody famous? It's like, well, you want to hire somebody who knows the game. That's how you're going to actually get
especially
something
with
done.
a game like this.
Yes. So I'm very curious to see what comes of that. I'll just say that.
Yeah, that's good news.
It is.
So is there anything else?
Shall we move on?
Yeah, I was going to say, do we want to move on to Project Zomboid?
Sure. All right, so lately I've been playing a lot of Project Zomboid. It's kind of just the main game I play on stream right now. Sorry, I'm very distracted. The cat is being really cute, and I can see her out my window, and she's like giving herself little scratches. Sorry.
So,
oh my
Kynseed,
gosh,
Kiri.
she's rolling around. Sorry, what?
Kiri,
Kynseed. I'm talking about Kynseed now.
Kynseed released.
Yes. So it is the first and actually also only game I ever backed.
Oh, really?
And it wasn't, yeah, actually. And it was in early access for so many years. And now version 1 is out, and it kind of came out of the blue a bit, and they picked the same release date as Dwarf Fortress, and I'm not sure why they did that, because I think nobody really noticed, because everybody was talking about Dwarf Fortress. But Kynseed is really cool. So it's a very, very beautiful pixel art game, and it's everything, really. It's a life sim. It's an adventure game. It's an RPG. It's also farming game, I suppose. It has rogue-like elements in it as well. There's a turn-based game mode. It's kind of
what?
All of it. And it's super cool. You play the prologue for several hours, and you feel like, oh yeah, no, this is cool. This is a cute little life sim. And then it just takes a completely different tone and gets really dark as well. And then it opens up, and you feel like this is kind of an open world sandbox game, and I can do whatever I want. I can run a shop if I'd like to. I can just tend to my farm if I want to. I can, have relationships with the other people in the town. You could marry if you'd like to and have children, because the whole point is that it's this fantasy world that kind of looks a bit medieval-like, but is actually in the future. And there's so many really funny reference to, the ways of the past, which is actually our time right now. So it's a very funny, witty, and also punny game. And you're this character, and you grow, as in you grow old. Everybody just ages. And you can make a pact with a fae for getting items that are super valuable and really helpful for gameplay, but they cost life, as in your age, basically. So you make a pact with them, and you lose 5 years of your life, for example. But you get this item, and it's really cool, and it helps you continue playing. And the whole point is you have this Kynseed, which is a seed that you plant for a tree. It's basically like your family tree. So you grow older, and maybe you start a relationship, maybe you don't, you tend to your farm, maybe you want to be a shopkeeper, and there are different types of shops that you can purchase. And then either you tend to it on your own because you like to, or you hire staff, and then you just go about and adventure some more and explore the map. Or you go to the forests and fight, because there's then kind of a roguelike turn-based combat kind of sequence in it.
Kind of just looks like a JRPG combat thing to me, but is it like two rows of units and then smacking each other? Because that's just a JRPG combat.
It's 3 rows, but that's
JRPG combat.
Yeah, it was a bit more roguelike when it was in early access still, but it's kind of. So it's not like you select an attack or anything, but you've got these different rows. And you can attack only the row that you're standing in, or a diagonal one, diagonally adjacent. But in any case, so you grow, and then once it's your time to die, you can just say, or not really your time to die, but you can just say, okay, I'm done now with this character. I want to uproot my Kynseed, and basically die, and let the next person in my family continue. And then you play as them. If you have a child, then you play as that child and continue on your legacy. If you don't, then you can adopt an orphan. And it's
interesting.
It is really interesting. And then obviously the longer you play, and with more characters you play, the better they get. And it's so fascinating, and there's so many aspects in it. And I've played several hours now, but I haven't even scratched the surface yet, I think. It's so vast. Yeah, and you can get so lost and also slightly overwhelmed because, where do you start? I don't know. So I bought a shop and I opened it, and I did the combat thing a bit. And now I'm trying to further relationships. And I don't know. It seems like courting is really difficult, but I'm not sure if that's just a joke, because the game jokes a lot. So I'm not sure if that's a joke of the game or if it's really that difficult. With several items that you need, and you need to ask somebody on a date on a specific day and time, and I don't know.
It's just like real life.
Kind of, yeah. Just in cute pixel art with really nice music.
I'm just staring at screenshot 6 of 36 of just what looks like a cooking mini game.
Yes, there are mini games for the crafting that you can do. So you can do cooking. The mini games, they're actually really fun. I do say though that they get tedious a bit if you have to cook the same recipe a lot. Then there is smithing. So there are different mini games for smithing as well. For making potions and other medicine in the apothecary. I think that's all the mini games. I can't remember any more now. There's also fishing in the game, but fishing works really nicely. So it's just you throw in the fishing rod. You see the shadow of the fish swim, and then you can, I don't know, wiggle with the rod or something to attract them. And then once they bite, you just reel it in. That's it.
Also, thank you for reminding me. My friend informed me I have to buy Ultimate Fishing Simulator 2 because it's cheap. And so now I've purchased Ultimate Fishing Simulator 2.
So yeah, Kynseed is a lot of genres. Fun. And I really, really like it.
That sounds either absolutely incredible or like a massive mess. And I for games I haven't played, I do stare at Steam reviews, and that seems to kind of be the impressions that people are getting from it. They either like go, "This is like the best thing I've ever played," or "This is too much and I don't like any of it." And it, yeah,
It is definitely a bit too much, yes. But the cool thing is that, if you don't care about farming, you just don't do that, right? If you don't care about shopkeeping, then you just don't do that and you focus on something else. And you can also experience the story, because there is a story, and just have fun with that. So,
So you're a completionist. Is this game driving you insane?
Well, not yet, but no, actually not. It was a bit overwhelming when I finished the prologue and I realized, wait, that's not the whole gameplay loop. There is so much more. But also I think it's really cool because there's so much to explore. Even though the map doesn't look that huge, but since everybody grows old and ages and then also dies, right? There's just new things to explore all the time.
That's neat. I also I love its color palette. It's pretty looking.
Yeah, it is. And one thing that's really funny, and to kind of give you an example of how the humor works in the game, you have a pig, and you can also get more pigs, but you have animals, and there's a pig that you start with, and you find a note very early on saying that the pig ate a key to a mine, and you need to get the key. So there are fruit trees, and there are apples, and then sometimes you get a gassy apple. So you have to feed the pig the gassy apple, and then due to the gas, it blows up like a balloon and it flies.
That's not where I was expecting that to go.
And you could use that and like use it as a mount, because you can ride pigs, but you could also ride the balloon pig.
Okay.
Or you could take your slingshot and pop the balloon pig to get the key out and the pork chop. So that's a humor of the game.
Okay.
It's just really funny.
That's
I love it.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah. There are some a bit darker tones in the game as well, but I think it's hilarious. I think it's pretty cool.
Huh. Well, that's Kynseed. On the topic of hilarious turns, Suwey, how's Train Valley 2?
I love it. So it's a game that came out a long time ago. I played the first one.
Yeah.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, long time ago.
Yeah, and I loved it so much. So basically it's this like little indie puzzle game where you have like different stations and you need to move trains from one place to another to move resources around, and then you got to get X resources to your like main station, city station, to finish the level. And it's just a fun little thing. And so I started playing the second game as one of my no guilt games, is what I call them. So basically I have this list of games that, I don't stream. They're for me. They're for me to enjoy on my own without any pressure of streaming it or anything. And so this game is on that. And I started playing it last night, and it's been a really good time because, so the thing I love about it is there's not one solution. So you don't need to like spend forever trying to figure out the solution. However, you can optimize it as much as you want. But at the end of the day, if a level is hard, you can literally just have at it for a really long time, and eventually you will probably beat it. So
I remember playing through most of the first one. And quite enjoying it. It was one of those games that I played through with my ex. We just put it up on the TV and just sat there and plucked away at it. Took turns doing puzzles or like yelling at each other when the thing wasn't in the right place, and it was good fun. But never did play the second one because I remember it came out at a time when I just wouldn't stream that kind of game. I'm like, I don't want to stream that, and so I just didn't play it. But glad that it's holding up and comparable to the first.
Yeah. Also, if you want to go back to Zomboid, I'm sorry, I got distracted.
I was going to go to Vampire Survivors and go to news, but...
No, let's talk about Zomboid.
Talk about Zomboid.
Okay. Yeah, no, I've been having a really good time with it. I've been doing a community server, where everyone who's in my Discord server can join in. And it's been a good time because, we get to go on all these different adventures. A lot of times I'm just sitting at, like the home base we made, which is a place that there aren't even any zombies because it's just like really out in the middle of nowhere. And,
So what you're
it's a good
saying is
time.
like the game is very boring because nothing exciting happens?
No,
blind.
because everyone needs to go out to people need to go out to the main cities to go get loot and stuff.
I mean, I don't know.
And then
Continue,
we're building
Suwey.
a cute little
I'm just being a douche, don't mind me.
we are calling it the commune, and we're just creating this really cute little area where we all live together, and we have these little houses, and we have a building that's for a kitchen, a building that's a tailor shop, we got a med bay, we got a warehouse, a library, we got
So
a mechanic shop.
I've actually watched a little bit of you streaming this commune, and I have a question. Are they still making you do all the building, or are they actually helping?
No, they've started building. They've
Okay,
started
that's
building,
good.
which I'm very happy about.
I felt quite bad
because I'm
initially
not
when I was
builder.
just watching you chopping logs. I was like, oh god, that does not look entertaining.
I enjoy it, to be honest. I
Yeah,
enjoy
fair.
that. I
It's
just
such a
don't like the
slow gameplay
creativity
loop.
needed.
It's like
I
if you
just
have
don't,
4 people, I think it's a lot of fun if you've got people on voice. But if you're just doing that by yourself, it's like this is a slog.
Like that though. That's the thing, right? Back when I played Minecraft, because I played it obsessively, back in 2011 to 2014, right? And the thing about it is I liked just going down and mining, or just going through some tedious loop of trying to get some resource. That is what I enjoyed.
I mean,
So-
my favorite thing to do in Project Zomboid is just go jack a car, and then drive into town with a baseball bat. Just all
That's
right,
fair.
how much food can I get? And that's how I play Zomboid. It's fill the trunk up with canned food and just go for 4 or 5 days until I die, maybe with 2-3 people helping, and then do it again, and never actually build the
Fair.
basic because I'm not a huge fan of the survival crafting part, but the actual let's just role play the warriors but with zombies. Let's go. Is very fun to me.
Yeah, I'm a huge survival crafting nerd, actually.
Mhm.
I love a good survival crafting game. That
You
is.
should play CDDA.
People keep telling me that, and I've been thinking about it. I'm definitely thinking about checking it out.
It's more tedious than Dwarf Fortress, but you should play CDDA.
People keep telling me I'd like it, so
I don't know if you would, honestly, but you might, or at the very least, it would give you a lot more perspective of what Zomboid could be if they didn't lose their source code twice.
they lost their source code twice.
One, yeah.
What?
Yeah, they had to
How?
rewrite-
How is?
This happened a couple years. There was pretty big news in I think it was 2016, but they were like, so there's gonna be no updates for 2 years because we lost our source code and have to rewrite the whole thing.
Ah.
Yeah, which is also
I think
why
I remember something like that. Yeah.
it's why multiplayer and single player are so desynced, and yeah, but and why the game blew up again was because that was when they finally caught up with rewriting their code.
Yeah, no, the multiplayer's great, and then yeah. I'm really excited for the new patch that's going to be coming up eventually because they're going to add animals and NPCs and
Yeah,
I
that's
feel like
probably
that's
when
gonna
I'll
be a
jump
really
back
good
in.
time.
Is when there's
Yeah.
NPCs. That's when I'll play that game again. Is because I feel like modding Zomboid just adds more to Zomboid, and for me Zomboid was always it was a very wide game, but it wasn't a very deep game. Yeah, there's a lot of things you can do in Zomboid, but I want more depth. I want more than just all right.
Yeah.
Let's make the number go up and make the skill faster. That's not interesting to me. I want more things to do in the game aside from just running away from a helicopter. So and I say that as somebody who definitely paid full price for that game and got 80 hours out of it, right? I've played plenty of that game. It's very good little zombie survival game. I need more, if that makes sense, for me to really stick to something like that for an extended
Yeah.
period of time.
I wish that all the different ways to level up your skills weren't just click button, wait for action to finish. And there was
Yeah.
some actual I don't know, even a QTE would add a lot,
Ooh, absolutely. Bad. That you just gave me a PTSD about games with QTEs. God, terrifying. No, I think for
What?
me, like, I hate QTE events. They're awful. As somebody who doesn't see
Oh.
well, like, if a game has
Oh,
QTEs,
yeah,
I will
okay.
Alt F4 the
Yeah.
game and never play it again because not worth it. But I will say that, like, for me, like, I think that's almost just like a systemic problem with survival crafting games. I also really dislike the, like, click thing, number go up a little bit, or sit there and read a book or watch TV or whatever. I also don't like that. And that is the reason I don't play most survival crafting games, because I've never found one that doesn't have that.
I enjoy it, but having a little variety, like, oh, with tailoring, maybe you have to, move your mouse a certain way to follow a pattern or something like that,
Yeah,
That would be
I
nice, but
I
I don't think
suppose.
it's necessary.
I like
So.
games that are like player knowledge based, if that makes sense. So, like,
Oh,
but the
not me.
problem is allowing for it to the issue is making it not into just like a wiki reading fest where it's just like, okay, you need the game to organically give you the information slowly over time, but also at the same time that information needs to be discoverable. And I think a lot of games that try to just be purely information based end up falling into the trap of, now it's too obtuse, and then you just can't organically learn it. You have to read a wiki, which I'm personally fine with, just sitting there and reading a wiki. But at the same time, there are very few games I've ever played in my life that are organically knowledge based, with the exception of a few traditional roguelikes. Like, I would describe something like NetHack as organically knowledge based, because if you pay 100% attention to all of the text in the game, you can organically learn as the player what you need to do to solve a situation. But that requires a lot of dedication from the player, and it's also a really difficult thing to develop for, and it requires really long development cycles and a lot of iteration. And a lot of commercial products just don't have the ability to do that.
I think my thing is I don't like very knowledge-based games in that way. Like, I think not Dwarfort, Zomboid is about as far as I go in that. Because, like, Zomboid, you do slowly learn over time, and there is a lot of knowledge to learn and all of that. But it doesn't throw it at you to the same degree some games do.
Like, to give you an idea of a game that I would describe as a knowledge-based game is My Summer Car. All right, you better know how a car works, and also I hope you can read Finnish. But, like, if you, in that game, if you start, like, Googling stuff in, like, the car parts magazines, like, that's how you have to play that game. It's, like, literally, like, start typing in, like, these weird Finnish engine parts to figure out what you need to order on your computer in that game in Finnish. But, like, like, that's not a game I'll ever play because I don't enjoy building cars. But, like, that's a good example of a game that I would describe as purely knowledge-based, because, like, if you speak Finnish and know how cars work, you can just sit down and play that game. It's just a matter of figuring out how to make money in the game, which is, like, going and, like, pumping out the septic tanks and whatever.
Yeah, no. The way I am, I do not like knowledge games very much. Like, I think part of it, honestly, is just, like, burnout from school still. I haven't fully gotten over that.
I mean, you only just finished school.
I know. I finished school less than a year ago, right?
Yeah,
so I'm still kind of burnt out from that. And that type of thing is just, like, still too schooly for me, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Totally.
Well, we all have our things, right? And also, I haven't been to school since, like, 2008, so.
Yeah, I feel like once I have a little more time, maybe like another year, I'll probably be more interested in that type of game. But for the exact moment, it's just like, I
would
like
hold off on CDDA for a bit then, because CDDA kind of throws the book at you like that.
Okay.
But it is very much, in a lot of ways, single-player Zomboid, but turn-based with a bajillion more mechanics. So
I've been thinking about doing some hardcore Zomboid runs too, because, like, there's people doing 16 times population, and the most I've done is, like, normal 1 times.
Yeah, I've never cranked up the population on that.
So I want to try it.
You could try for a special stream.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my thought.
Yeah, true. Just, like, start bashing your head against the wall and see how far you can get. Might be fun.
Yeah, I mean, I'll probably do that when I'm done with the community server I'm running at the moment, because, eventually we're going to get tired of it. We're not tired of it yet, but we're starting to run out of things to do.
Yeah. Well, That was always the problem that I had with Zomboid, is you just kind of run out of things to do at a point. But looking forward to them adding
Cleanse
animals.
the world.
Cleanse the world. They respawn though.
I know.
Like,
But then you never run out
You
of
can
things
turn
to
it
do.
off.
That's
You can turn respawn off.
I know you
There
can.
you
I
go.
know
Turn it off
can
and
turn
cleanse
it
the
off,
world.
but
That's something I tried to do.
That's just killing more zombies. That's like, come on.
Yeah.
Give me some actual things to do. But I don't know. I think that, like, for me, my perfect iteration of a game like that would be something that's like a weird mix of like Escape from Tarkov as well as a zombie game, survival game like Project Zomboid, all in one big world, where like people send you out on quests and it spawns stuff into the world for those quests to give you unique like encounters that are either generated or scripted. Like I wouldn't really care at that point, because like that's the neat thing about something like Tarkov is you go into a world and it's like, all right, I have to get to this door, unlock this door because I have the key in my inventory for this door, which I got from a different map. When I unlock this door, inside of that thing is an item that's extremely valuable that is now going to go into my inventory, and it goes into the part of my inventory that doesn't go into my safe box. So if I die, I lose it. And also there's going to be 5 players camping that door because they know that somebody on the map probably is going to show up to unlock that door. When he comes out with the item, you kill him and take the item from him. And if there was stuff like that in Zomboid, I think that the game would stick a lot more for me, because suddenly there's like, all right, there's an objective, but also there's a reason for me to exist in this rather shallow world that doesn't have enough in it by itself to keep me interested for more than, well, 80 hours, which was a lot of time, honestly.
Yeah,
It's a decent amount of time, yeah.
how many hours do I have in it? Hold on. Let's check this real
probably
quick.
more.
And then we're all going to check. But I think that sounds like a fun game mode.
Yeah,
I have
I mean,
281 hours.
yeah, that's rookie numbers. You're getting there. You're past the early game.
I've only got 31 hours.
I think you just played on our community servers, right?
I think so. I might have played a bit before that, but certainly not a lot.
Well, speaking of destroying lots and lots of things and making piles of waste in the path that you travel, how's Vampire Survivors, Kiri?
It's fun. It's fun. So I only recently got to it because of version 1. And before that, I just stayed clear of it. But now a DLC came out called Legacy of the Moonspell. And I thought, why not? It's one of those games that I want to 100% at some point. So let's go and check out that DLC too. And it's fun. It adds at least one new, stage level, I suppose, on a mountain with snow, and it's perfect for me. But it's so difficult. It's good fun. New items and such. I haven't completed it yet, but I've been playing every now and then on my Steam Deck. Enjoy
PC
it.
Gamer's favorite roguelike of 2022. Yeah, I was like, well, like, immediately got that set to me to DM. It's like, PC Gamer doesn't know what a roguelike is. It's like, yeah. Cool looking game though. It's nice to see that game, like, put out a DLC and people support it and be like, we need to give this person more money. Like, the amount of time some people have sunk into that game is a little bit insane.
Yeah.
And so,
and it's so cheap again.
Yeah, it's like $5. It's probably on sale now. So, yeah. No.
Yeah, so the DLC would be €2, and now it's on sale as well, so it's $1.80.
It's $4.79 Canadian.
I think.
For the base game, and the DLC
super cheap.
The DLC is $2.15.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, sure. Throw money at that thing.
Yeah, for lots and lots of new content with new characters and levels and such.
Yeah. Well,
definitely good value.
Speaking of new content, I think it's time for us to go to a real quick break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about the news, which gets to talk about new content for a thing that I'm excited about, and Kiri's also excited about. I don't know if Suey's excited about this one, but and then we get to talk about a funny lawsuit, and then that'll be it for this holiday edition of this Halcyon Frequency podcast. We'll be right back after this.
Yeah.
And And we're back with this holiday-flavored edition of the Halcyon Frequency Podcast, episode 49. We're going to be talking about the news this week. And the first one is a very exciting story, which is something that I was hoping for, and Kiri's also excited about, so I'm going to let you take this one.
Yes. So, Risk of Rain is coming back. I know there's a Risk of Rain 2, and that released not too long ago, I think. But I couldn't play it because it was, not 2D. Was it first person, actually? I'm not sure. Third person, yeah, but I still couldn't play it. But I've played so much Risk of Rain, just Risk of Rain, the first one. And I 100%ed it, and way back when, 2014 actually. And it was so much fun. I loved it. And now Risk of Rain Returns is a new game they're working on. Hopu Games, I've just been told, is the developer. And they're taking Risk of Rain and making it new, kind of. They're saying it's going to be a whole new game. So I'm super excited about this, honestly. I already asked Mystery to play it with me again because that's what we did back then.
Risk of Rain 1 was a game that I was very torn about when it came out because I loved it mechanically and I loved playing it, but could never get the multiplayer to work. And for the last several months, maybe even 2 years at this point, it feels like, I played a lot of Risk of Rain 2. I put 400 hours into Risk of Rain 2. I think Risk of Rain 2 is a terribly great game. And the reason I say terribly great is while I do think they made a really smooth transition from 2D to 3D, there's just some things in that game that you'll just die and you didn't see what hit you. And I never felt that in the first one, right? It was always it's very clear what killed you.
Absolutely.
You see that missile coming in and you're going, no, 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 no. But in Risk of Rain 2, because it's a 3D game, there's stuff that'll just smack you. And as somebody I don't get motion sickness from that type of game, but I don't see well. So there's whole characters in that game that I just straight up can't play. Which eventually pushed me away from Risk of Rain 2 and made the game become frustrating because there's 3 characters in that game that I can play competently. And then there's a bunch of characters in that game that I just can't play. And as somebody who streams these games, I want to be able to stream these games. And it turns out that 2 of the 3 characters I like playing are considered newbie, air quotes, characters by the main community and will openly mock you if you play those characters. Oh, you're playing Engie, you noob.
What a horrible community.
It kind of sucks. So, and because I didn't play the meta characters at a high level, people would, tune out of my streams. So it made it, an unpleasant game to play and also an unpleasant game to stream. And the kind of sad part about that is I genuinely love the game, and I continued to play it off stream for about a year every couple of weeks with friends in a voice chat. But even then, they keep adding content to the sequel, which is just harder, more precise, more specific, requires faster reaction times, better spatial awareness, because that's what the community wants, right? And it just drives me further away because I have to play these slow-moving characters that aren't good at that. And eventually I just fell off of it. And I still love the game. I really, really do like Risk of Rain 2. But for the past year and a bit, I've just been like, man, if only they would just patch Risk of Rain 1 so that the multiplayer worked. Don't do anything. Just patch it. Just patch it. Which I know sounds easy, but I don't know anything about how netcode works. So I say it like it's easy, but it might not be easy. And so I just kind of expected that to never happen. And then a couple of weeks ago, it was announced that Gearbox, love them or hate them, I kind of hate them, have bought the Risk of Rain IP. So they now own the Risk of Rain IP entirely. And large portions of the last Risk of Rain 2 DLC was developed by Gearbox in-house, not by Hopo Games. And during the development cycle of the DLC that released for Risk of Rain 2, they were working on this, which is Risk of Rain Returns, which they describe as not just a remake of Risk of Rain 1 in a flat 2D platformer scale, but apparently they're adding a ton of new items that were new in Risk of Rain 2. They're adding new areas, they're adding new playable characters, they're adding tons of stuff. So, and also modern netcode. So I'm really curious to see what this ends up being. And I'm a little worried. I don't want it to go in the same direction as Risk of Rain 2 did, which is Risk of Rain 1 was always a brutally difficult game, but I hope that they're able to keep it fair feeling because Risk of Rain 2 stopped feeling fair at a point. I just hope that they're able to keep that I think it's like just an artifact of the fact that it's a 2D game versus a 3D game, but as long as they're able to keep it feeling fair, very excited to play this. Very, 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 very excited to play this.
Yeah, absolutely. I was so bummed when they announced Risk of Rain 2 as a 3D game. Because you have trouble with some of the characters. At least you can play the others, right? I took one look at it and I'm like, well, that sucks. I can't play this at all. So yeah, I'm very excited about Risk of Rain Returns.
Yeah, I'm super, super keen on this. The pixel art looks really, really nice, and as long as they're able to keep the animations clear and it doesn't go directly down a bullet hell route or something, I should be able to play it. So which, I mean,
we'll go to play then.
I think my skill ceiling will be lower than your average person. Probably won't be able to 100% it and whatnot, but that's fine. I will still play it. Looking forward to this.
Yes.
My only real concern about it, though, is that it is Gearbox Publishing, which makes me go, all right, so everything after this that's related to Risk of Rain, I'm going to be looking at under a microscope. Like if they make a Risk of Rain 3 at some point, it's like 2D or 3D. I will be squinting at it going, I don't trust it, because Gearbox is very hit and miss with their games, and I've still got a lot of bad blood with them when it comes to them ruining franchises that I've enjoyed in the past. So a lot of skepticism on this one, but we'll see. We'll see. Next up here, we have a fun little headline here, which I have on Tom's Hardware, written by Brendan Hill. And this is gamers sue to block Microsoft's $69 billion Activision deal. So I'm not a lawyer, so bear with me here, but I'm just going to read this, like the first line of this verbatim, which is 2 weeks ago, we learned that Microsoft is facing heat from the U.S. Federal Trade Commission, the FTC, over its proposed deal to acquire Activision Blizzard for nearly $69 billion. Now it appears that the FTC isn't the only group looking to throw a cold water on this blockbuster deal. A private consumer lawsuit filed in California court also targets Microsoft. So 10 fans, quite literally, have filed a private civil lawsuit out of California to, quote, the video game industry may lose a substantial competition and Microsoft may have a far outsized market power with the ability to foreclose rivals and limit output to reduce consumer choice and raise prices and further inhibit competition, which is not wrong, but I'm not entirely certain how much I might be in a weird position, but I don't know how much leverage Activision Blizzard actually has in the PC space. King on the mobile space, sure. Yes, very much. But I wish them all the best. I think that this is interesting. I think it's a curveball that I wasn't expecting. I mean, I was expecting the FTC to get involved at some point, but
yeah.
A consumer lawsuit's interesting.
I can see where they're coming though, because there's a few main ones, right? There's if once these combine, it's gonna be Microsoft, and then it's gonna be Embracer, and I believe there's a few others, but there's not many AAA companies that's just a company by itself anymore. It's most if you're a company by yourself, you're an indie pretty much at this point.
I don't know how much I actually agree with that. I mean, at this point, Blizzard is Overwatch, which is doing great, I hear. Everybody loves that game. Diablo, Call of Duty, which is, they put out a good Call of Duty for the first time in 6-7 years. And then World of Warcraft, which is also doing great and people love it. And then Candy Crush. And well, we don't talk about StarCraft anymore because that game's dead. So, yes, but also, I don't know.
I don't play any of them, but
I mean, they're all big games in their own right, but it's maybe I'm just brainwashed, but I'm at the point now where I look at the main staples of Activision Blizzard King's output and I go, I don't think they're worth $69 billion, but okay.
With Overwatch, they might be. Overwatch is doing a lot lately, from what I know.
Sure. Sure.
Well, like
yeah,
there's
definitely.
the new Overwatch 2 and stuff, and like
and everybody
that's
hates
really
it.
popular. Yeah, but at the
Everybody
same
hates it.
time, everyone's playing it.
Who's
They all
everyone?
hate it, but they also play it.
Who's
Well, I
everyone?
know, like Suwey and his friends play it,
Okay, who's everyone?
and they hate it, but they play it. Huh?
Who's everyone?
Well, I'm sure there's enough people playing it.
Yeah, that's
Sure.
kind of the thing. It's like a lot of people who play shooters.
There's
are
also a
playing
lot of
it.
people playing Counter-Strike, right?
That's fair.
There's a lot of people playing a lot of video games. But anyway,
I know, it's still really popular from what I
wish
know.
them all the best, and I hope that their lawsuit goes well and doesn't, cost them a lot of money and not do much. So, but I think that kind of brings us to the end of this here episode of the Halcyon Frequency podcast. So I just want to wish everybody out there a happy holidays to whatever holiday you celebrate. Happy Yule, happy Hanukkah. I'm probably forgetting something, but Kiri, who are you and where can people find you on the internet, aside from, obviously, eating Christmas dinner?
I'm Kiri, and you can find me mainly on Twitch, but for easiest way, tudikiri.com, and then you find all my links there.
And Suey.
Yeah, I'm Suwey, Suwey. You can find me on Twitch/Suey, YouTube @Suey, or if you want to see my VOD archive, it's @Suey Streams, and Twitter @Suey Streams as well.
And I'm blind. I play too much Dwarf Fortress. If you just type in blind Dwarf Fortress, you'll probably find me somewhere. And screw Twitter. You can find me at blindirl at mas or at blindirl at mas.to on Mastodon. And if you want to find more episodes of this podcast, you can find this at halcyonfrequency.com, where we have links to our Discord. If you want to discuss this podcast, you can get a link to the Discord via the website. And then there's a room on the Discord where you can talk about the podcast and ask us questions and yell at us when we forget to link things in places. If you can't find this podcast on a podcast platform of your choice, please let me know and I will make it appear there, although I think we should be everywhere at this point. And aside from that, new episodes go up every Sunday. So until next week, don't change that dial. This is Halcyon Frequency, signing off.
Happy holidays!